Welcome to Killer Stories. I'm your host, Bobbie Holmes, and I have a special guest with me today, Stuart Blues, host of another true crime podcast called British Murders. He's actually going to be doing the storytelling today, and I'm not familiar with the case, so I'm excited to hear what he has for us. Stuart?
Hello.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about British Murders before we get started?
Yeah, so British Murders started in December of 2020, and it focuses exclusively on British murder cases and serial killers. Some of the lesser known ones, but for me, that's pretty much most of them because my knowledge is not that vast or expansive, if that's even a word. But yeah, it's just focusing on that, and to be honest, it's going a lot better than I thought it would.
Yeah, it's doing
People are
great.
digging the voice, which is weird because where I'm from, our voice is like mocked for being common.
No, Americans will listen to you just to hear your voice. I promise you that.
That's good. That's the feedback I'm getting. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So the case I've got today is one that I wouldn't normally cover because it's unsolved, whereas I typically just cover open and shut cases, as we say. So ones that are solved. So this one is an old one from 1931 in the city of Liverpool. You know Liverpool, right? Yeah, the Beatles are from there.
Yes, right.
That's what it's known for. There's a football club as well, but we won't talk about that. So in 1931, on January 19th, you guys say your date's weird, so I have to change it round.
Okay.
We'd say 19th of January.
Okay.
January 19th.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it. So there's a guy called William Wallace, and I'm not talking about the guy from Braveheart. Okay. This is a different guy, not the Scottish warrior. So William Wallace leaves his home at 7:15 on an evening, 7:15, to attend the Liverpool Central Chess Club. So he's a chess player.
Okay.
That's not his job. His job is like an insurance salesman. He goes door to door selling insurance policies, which back in the day, I guess, is what people used to do. So he wasn't really a regular at the club. He kind of went sporadically. The last time he went was in November, the year prior, in 1930. So it's been a couple of months at this point since he's actually been to the chess club. Now, he gets there at 7:45 and he finds out that someone has left a message for him they've rang up and they've called the club chess captain and left a message for William Wallace, a guy by the name of R.M. Qualtrough, which is a weird name. Qual.
Okay.
Yeah, Qualtrough. Qualtrough, whatever. So Wallace has no idea who this guy is. And now back in the 30s, especially in Liverpool or the Anfield area, telephone calls, they had to be connected manually by like a switchboard operator.
Yep.
So you'd go through to an operator, they'd put you through to where you were planning on calling. So this person rings up a few times and must have pressed the wrong button once or twice, but finally gets through to an operator who then puts him through to the chess club captain called Samuel Beatty. And I say that weird, Beatty. Samuel Beatty. So the call log is as follows. He says, "Is Mr. Wallace there?" Beatty says no. He says, "Can you give me his address?" "I'm afraid I can't, but he will be there." And he said, "Well, I can't say. He might or he might not. If he is coming, it won't be long before he's here. Maybe you should call back later." So then the caller says, "I can't do that. I'm too busy. It's my little girl's 21st birthday. I've got a party. I want to see him on a matter of business because it's something in the nature of his business with the insurance kind of thing." So instead of calling back later because he's super busy, he asks him to leave him a message. And the message is that he visits this R.M. Qualtrough the following evening at 7:30 p.m. And he gives his name, R.M. Qualtrough, and the address is 25 Menlove Gardens East at Mossley Hill, which is an area near Anfield in Liverpool. So he doesn't call back. He leaves him a message. "I want you to come to Menlove Gardens East." That's a crucial part of this, right?
Okay.
So the call was made around 7:22. And so that's about 7 minutes, roughly, after Wallace leaves his house. But bear in mind, he tried to call a few times and it didn't get through. 7:22 was only when he spoke to the captain. So possibly it started a little bit earlier. Anyway, we'll add to the mystery. So the journey from William's house to the chess club is about 20 minutes. So if he sets off half an hour before because he gets there at about 7:45, there's this whole thing with the call. You'd still have time to get there potentially. So we're just teasing you with the story here. So he asks a few people at the chess club where Menlove Gardens East is because he's not heard of it, but no one there has heard of it either. And he thinks it's a bit weird. It's a weird name. I don't know the guy. I don't know what
That's
business
what
he'd
I was
want.
just going to ask. I was like, do these people even know each other?
No,
No.
it's literally
Okay.
a call off a randomer, but this randomer knows he's going to be there
Okay.
at the club on that specific evening, but he's not been there since November. So he picked a hell of a night.
Yeah, right.
And he demands that he meets him the following night, doesn't even give him a chance. So if he hadn't have gone to the club, he couldn't have met him the following night,
Right.
because he wouldn't have got the message, which is very bizarre. So anyway, on that evening, so we're still on the 19th of January, Wallace sets off home about 10:15 p.m. He's played his chess game and he gets home just before 11 o'clock in the evening. So on the next day, which is the 20th of January now, and he leaves home in the morning, 10:30, begins his collection round. So he goes door to door, gets his money for the insurance, that kind of stuff. And he's wearing a dark, like grey raincoat, what we would call a Macintosh.
A Macintosh. Okay.
Macintosh, yeah. Not the computer.
That's a raincoat.
Yeah, like a heavy rain. Yeah, like a raincoat. Yeah, waterproof coat. Yeah, to shield himself because it's bad weather. It's raining. So he collects the money, puts it in a cash box when he gets home, which is about 2:00 in the afternoon, roughly. Hangs up his Macintosh by the front door because he needs it to dry. So he goes on. He's got a morning round and an afternoon round. So on his afternoon rounds, which is like 3:30 in the afternoon, he doesn't wear the Macintosh. He wears a lighter raincoat, so a little bit thinner because it's the weather cleared up a little bit. So he leaves his heavier, thicker Macintosh by the front door. And now his wife, Julia, who this is all focusing on, she was suffering a bit with bronchitis. So she didn't really leave the house at all. She wasn't going anywhere. She was sort of ill and just staying at home. And the last time she was seen alive was at roughly 6:37 p.m. on the evening of the 20th I don't know if you have like milk delivered over there.
I mean, we used to.
Yeah, again, this is a 30.
Does milk still get delivered?
I think there is still milkman. It's rare.
I guess
it's rare.
Where I grew up in rural Pennsylvania, you could, if you wanted to, have it delivered, but I don't think it's very common.
Yeah, back in the olden days, It was.
Yes.
So the young boy goes to give her fresh bottles and then gets the old bottles off of her. They have a brief conversation. I'm not well. Well, I'm not well either. Get yourself home. It's cold. Your parents will be wondering about you. That was about 6:37 p.m. So William thinks, right, I'm going to risk it and I'm going to check out this business meeting. I'm going to go see where this Menlove Gardens East is, this RM Quattro, see what the situation is. He leaves home about 6:45 p.m. So about 8 minutes later, after the milk boy does his drop off and has the conversation. And again, he's still wearing the lighter raincoat. I'm mentioning that again for a reason. You'll find it.
Sounds important.
It is important, yeah. So the journey from his house to Menlove Gardens East is 3 trams. So in those days in Liverpool, maybe they still do, they have trams. Big cities do here. So he takes the first tram, no worries. On the second tram, and this William Wallace is usually a shy guy. He's normally quite reserved, but he couldn't shut up for the whole journey. So almost nervous chatter kind of thing is how I see it. So he's constantly acting the tram conductor if the tram goes to Menlove Gardens East. And the guy said, I'm not sure, you might need to do a transfer. Tells him about a transfer to the third tram. So, he keeps saying, I've got an important business call, blah, blah, blah. I need to get to Menlove Gardens East. I'm a stranger around here, all this kind of stuff. So he ends up getting on the transfer and he gets onto what is the third tram at that point. And he gets off of that tram at around 7:20 p.m. And again, on that journey, he was saying, you won't forget me, will you? I need to go to Menlove Gardens East, blah, blah, blah. He's talking to the conductor the whole journey. So when he gets there, he can't find it. He gets off at Menlove Gardens West because the conductor hasn't heard of Menlove Gardens East. So he's walking around, and he's asking locals around there, where's Menlove Gardens East? And they basically say there isn't an east. There's a north, south, and west, but there's no east. First of all, how weird is that? The fact that a place has north, south, and west
Right.
and no
Yeah.
east, that's weird, that, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
weird. Anyway, so he figures out, right, there's no east. I've been led
Mm-hmm.
down the garden. I'm using all
Right.
my English phrases. Led down the garden path.
Okay.
Up Shit Creek without a paddle is another one. So he thinks, right, I'm going to go back home. Pretty uneventful tram journey back home. Gets home at around 8:45. He goes to the front door and he's got a key. It won't open. It's dead bolted. Thinks, right, okay, that's strange. Because normally, I spoke to the author who I spoke to a couple of weeks ago, and he said in Liverpool, the back door is almost like the front door, and the front door is something you would just come into when you're coming home from an evening, whereas the back door is the main door. So on an evening,
Okay.
you would bolt the back door and leave the front door to come in through.
Gotcha.
So confused. So he tries the front door and he can't get in. So he goes round to the back and he puts his key in and the key's not turning. Can't get in the back door either. So he knocks on the door, calls out to Julia, no reply. Goes round to the front door again, tries the key, knocks on the door, Julia, no answer again. Goes round the back for the second time and he runs into the neighbours, a couple called the Johnsons. And he says, have you heard anything unusual this evening? And they said, no, it's been a pretty normal evening. He said, okay. So he tries the back door again in front of the Johnsons and gets in easily. He gets straight in with
Yeah.
someone watching him. So they wait outside and he goes in and he's calling out for Julia. And he goes into the parlor room, which is like the reception room, I guess. I was told in Liverpool, it's quite common for the kitchen, especially in those days as well, to be the main room of the house. Almost like the living room is the kitchen room. And the front part of the house, the parlor or the reception, is where you would entertain guests, for example.
Yeah.
But you'd spend most of your time in the kitchen. So he goes into the parlor and finds Julia on the floor. He looks down, her skull's been smashed open.
Ooh.
And there's brain and blood everywhere, massive like a halo of blood around her head. And he runs back outside to the Johnsons and says, oh, come and see, she's been killed. So they go inside and they see her body's there, and it's a right mess.
Yeah.
And he said this is where we used to entertain guests. She would play the piano, he would play the violin. She had no reason to be in there because she was on her own, kind of thing. So he reaches up onto the top of this sort of bookcase, which is about 7 feet off the ground, to see if anything's been stolen, because that's where he puts his collection money from the insurance runs through the day. And he said that it had been looted. So the money's gone, about £4, which back in them days was quite a lot of money.
Okay.
So he goes upstairs to see if anything else has been stolen. He returns after that and he said everything's in order. There was some money in a dish, but they hadn't taken it. Which turned out to be £4, funnily enough. So the exact amount that he thought was in his thing. So that's a bit strange. And then Mr. Johnson calls for a doctor and then the police. And then the police come round. The crucial thing is the Macintosh was underneath Julia's body.
The one that was supposed to be drying.
Exactly. And it was slightly burnt.
Okay.
So what's happened was she was leaning over the fire, sort of tending to the fire in the parlor, and she's been attacked, most likely from behind, or at least she was unaware that it was coming. So she's been laying on top of the Macintosh, which is soaked in blood now, but it's also a little bit burnt,
right?
Which is strange. So there's some information here about the body positioning. So she's lying on her right-hand side. She's diagonally across the rug. Normally you'd have like a rug in the middle of the parlor. Her legs slightly apart, but feet sort of lying on the side. So imagine she's sort of on her side in a fetal kind of position.
Right. Yeah.
Her arms are close to her body, and then she's just got blood, guts everywhere. Her head's been smashed open.
So head wound is the cause of death, you think?
Head wound, yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. We'll come to the amount of blows that they think it was later on, because the forensic guy that looked at it changed his story in court. So the police made a shocking job of preserving the crime scene. Like they would go upstairs and use the toilet and flush it. It's like,
But this
so they
is
could have.
pretty early on where the forensics aren't really like,
It is,
yeah.
yeah.
But
You
still.
didn't have CSI back in them days,
No.
but you would have had something. You would have
Right.
thought common sense, maybe. But anyway, so the police, the first thing they went is to track down this phone call
Mm-hmm.
by this Qualtro person. So the phone box that was used about 400 yards from Wallace's house.
Mm-hmm.
So that's right up the road. Now, the only thing that worked in Wallace's favour, because the police thought, well, the husband normally did it,
Yeah.
which is a standard,
Yeah.
thought process. But she was last seen alive by the milk boy at 6:37,
Mm-hmm.
and William leaves at 6:45. So that's an 8-minute window. So in that window, he has to kill her, clean himself up, attempt to get rid of any evidence, make his way to the tram for the business journey. Okay, but this guy's 52, okay, and Julia's 67, so she's 15 years older than him, sorry. So he's not like a young spring chicken. He's not old by any means, but he's not in his peak, if you like. And they said he moved quite slowly. People that knew him said he moved quite slowly. He wasn't a fast-moving guy. He had a lot of kidney issues, like a kidney disease that he'd had his whole life. So he wasn't the fittest guy in the world to carry out such a grave task by that logic.
Right.
So, and the other thing as well is Samuel Beattie, who took the phone call from Qualtro, said the voice he heard didn't sound anything like Wallace. Now, maybe he's a good impressionist, but
Maybe.
the guy
That
that's
that
known.
would be elaborate to call and leave yourself a message, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the other things that worked in Wallace's favour is stuff like drains, the basins, and the toilets. They were inspected, and no blood or anything was found.
Mm-hmm. Like
The
cleaning up.
towel, yeah, like the towels were dry; they weren't freshly washed.
Mm-hmm.
There was no sign of them having been used to clean up the crime scene or anything. And it's, they did test to his clothes, and there was nothing hidden, like no washed bloodstains were found, no DNA was found on his clothes or anything. And the initial forensic guy, so this is the guy that changed his story. At first, he said that the time of death was at 7:50 p.m. and he said it was 3 or 4 blows that have done it and killed her.
Mm-hmm.
Now, 7:50 p.m., Wallace is miles away from the house, so that theory kind of rules out William there.
Right.
But in court, the same forensic expert said the time of death was 6 p.m. and that 11 to 12 blows were made to Julia. But that also doesn't make sense because she was seen at 6:37.
Yeah, and that's a big difference as far as the amount of blows to her head.
Exactly, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's three times as many.
Right.
So they were thinking the Macintosh. What they think is, did he use that as a protective shield? So if he's ready to go out and he's dressed in his lighter jacket and he's gone to attack Julia, it's almost like he's held up the Macintosh as a shield from blood spatter, whacked her over the head however many times, and then just left that on the ground kind of thing.
Now, do we know what she was hit with? Do you know the murder weapon?
I don't know the murder weapon.
Mm.
I think it was like I think it was one of the, you get like pokers and stuff.
Like a fire poker.
Yeah.
Because she was at the fireplace.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was that anyway. I think it was a fire. Let's go with a fireplace.
Okay.
Anyway.
That's what it was.
It makes the most sense. In this case,
Mm-hmm.
there's bigger things that are red flags apart from that. So basically what the police thought happened was he's called the chess club on the 19th from the payphone, left himself a message with a disguised voice, right? Because the guy obviously knew him. Then he's gone to the chess club, faked that, a message from someone I don't know. I have no idea who that is kind of thing. And the following night, they think he's waited, knowing that the milk boy comes every day at the same time. He's waited for him to come and give sort of a rough timestamp as to when she's been seen alive.
Almost like an alibi.
Yeah. So now the thing is as well, because this guy's a chess player, he's used to doing things 7, 8, 9 moves ahead of time. So you've got to think, if he's thinking, right, what I'll do is I'll ring the chess club, leave a message for myself. That gives me a chance to get out of the house the following day. That's an alibi. I'll make the milk boy come, give a timestamp. That's an alibi. When I got on the tram, I won't stop talking and asking where I'm going. So that's 2 conductors on the trams, which is an alibi as well. And then the thinking with the jacket, maybe he's tried to burn it, but then he's aborted the idea and he just dumped it underneath her. Maybe it was too smoky from the fire, or maybe he just didn't have time and he thought, if I'm here too long, maybe it's going to raise eyebrows as to why I didn't leave straight away. So the only evidence against him, really, I mean, it's his Macintosh, but they are married. So as much as you can say, it's a bit weird that she had my Macintosh under her.
Right. And I know it's like super long ago, and I don't know how much of the story, this part you would know, but like any trouble in their marriage or like anything leading up to this event?
Well, there's debate that because she was so much older than him and of a pensioner's age, and he worked in insurance, some of the theories are like, did he want to claim insurance on her?
Right. Could be.
Because she's so much older than him.
Is there any other suspect even?
Well, he tried to pin it on someone, but it didn't really go anywhere. But the interesting thing is, the only evidence they really had was the phone box thing being so close to his house.
Right.
So he got taken to court, and the jury decided after an hour of deliberating that he was guilty, and they sentenced him to death. So, and bear in mind, the crime took place in January, and this is within a couple of months, like March time. He's been sentenced to death within a couple of months, but he went to the Court of Appeals, which is like our legal appeal system when you have something served on you. And this was in May of the same year, so 4 months after the killing. And they basically overturned the guilty decision because they said there's not enough actual evidence to pin this crime on him. Yeah, there's circumstantial stuff, and they don't know who the suspect would be apart from him, but that got approved, and then he got set free.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. Like you said, there's the forensics. Like, how can you say for sure he did it?
Well, you can't, but so he gets set free, and then he goes back to the community, and they sort of shunned him because they all thought he did it.
Yeah.
And then I think he had to actually leave the area, but then he ended up dying less than 2 years later because of his kidney problems. He died of uremia and pyelonephritis. Probably saying that wrong. One's like a kidney infection, and one's kidney failure or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I even put it phonetically in my notes, but I can't remember how to say. I think it's pyelonephritis.
It doesn't sound good.
Yeah, you don't want it.
No.
And then no other person has been charged, and to this day, it still remains unsolved. And they even did like a mock trial in the 70s to see if they would have done it again or differently, would it have changed?
Right.
And it still found him not guilty.
Yeah.
Because there's not enough hard evidence or concrete evidence on there to mark him as a guilty person.
Yep. I mean, I would agree, to be honest. You gotta have evidence. So it does, and there's no other suspect to even think about right now.
Do you think he did it?
I guess it sounds like to me that he probably did it, but I don't know. What do you think?
I think he did it.
Yeah.
But the fact that, because when I was told this story by Mark, the author I had on, there's just too many conveniences for me. The fact that the phone box, because if you look at the timeline, he leaves his house at 7:15, and it's a 20-minute journey, and he gets there half an hour later. The call comes through to the captain at 22 minutes past 7. If he sets off at 15 minutes past, a couple of minutes up the road, so he's still got 5 minutes, and he doesn't get through straight away. So shave a couple of minutes off that. That perfectly fits the timeline. Then if he gets through at 22 minutes past, I can't call later because my daughter's having a party. AKA, I can't call myself from the chess club when I'm there.
Right, yeah.
And then he's still got 20 minutes from, let's say he finishes the call at 25 past 7. He gets there at 7:45, 7:50, which is roughly 20 minutes from when he leaves. So that timeline fits. He picks the area that he knows doesn't exist. So he clearly knows more than he thinks. Because you think, why wouldn't
Right.
you look the area up before you left? You
Right.
know, looking
Yeah.
at a directory and
Hmm.
think, actually,
Well,
that doesn't exist.
and you said he's normally really quiet, but he goes out of his way to talk to all
Yeah,
these people. Yeah.
yeah. He doesn't shut up. Yeah,
Yeah.
he
No.
doesn't shut up. So I
Mm,
think, his intelligence must be quite. Because if you play chess, you've got to have something about you,
hmm.
haven't you? I
Right.
don't play chess, so
Yeah. I mean, I know how to play chess. I wouldn't say I'm good at playing chess, but
yeah, yeah. I know what the pieces do,
right.
but the people who compete and have,
Yeah.
they think they've got these different defenses that they have,
Hmm.
and they're moving seven. If I move this, he'll do that, and I'll do that, and I'll do that, so I won't do that.
Hmm.
I
Right.
can't think that far ahead. If he's using that same logic
Hmm.
and planning that far ahead, and there's no real other suspects, and his
Hmm.
wife's 15 years older than him, and she's classed as elderly, and she's insured, and she's got bronchitis anyway. I mean,
Poor thing.
for me, it's open and shut.
Yeah. No, it definitely seems that way.
Still unsolved.
Yeah. And
And then
probably won't ever be because it's not like new evidence is going to come out.
no, plus the guy's dead.
Yeah. Right. I mean,
So
some of the older ones that have been solved recently, more like the 70s, where they took DNA and they keep on file until we have this new
mhm.
technology. And obviously, that's too long ago.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
But I just wonder if he would have not died within 2 years and would have stayed alive for a little bit longer if they would have kept investigating it at that
Hmm.
point.
Right.
Because I imagine once he passed away, they probably thought, well, what's the point now?
Yeah.
Because the people that are looking into it now are like enthusiasts and
Hmm.
historians and people that are just interested in the case and stuff.
Hmm.
Whereas I imagine the police aren't really looking at it
Yeah.
anymore because what's
Right.
the point?
Yeah. What year did you say again? 30?
1931.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long old time ago. So
Hmm.
the guy I had on called Mark Russell, he had written a book about it, which was released on the 90th anniversary, 20th
Hmm.
of January this year,
Hmm.
2021. And he's been researching it for 10, 15 years
Hmm.
because he lives like local to where it happened, and his grandparents knew Wallace.
Hmm.
Not personally, but he would come round on his rounds and see them, that kind of stuff. And that's how he knows that they said he was a quiet guy.
Right.
Like he didn't speak to many people, or he wasn't confident in himself. He was quite
Hmm.
shy and reserved.
Yeah.
But then on the night that his wife died, he couldn't shut up.
So,
Nervous.
and the author that you were speaking with, he thinks Wallace did it as well.
I think he left it quite vague on the chat
Hmm.
because obviously he didn't want to say everything that's in his
Right.
book.
Yeah. Right.
but, but he said, yeah, he's got arguments for and against Wallace, so it's
Right.
not like a whole bias towards I think he did it or I think he
Hmm.
didn't.
Right.
He argues both. I'm sure he said on my chat that he thinks he did it.
Yeah.
I don't see how you couldn't think that, to
Hmm.
be honest. I know
Well, I
there's no
mean,
clear
it
cut
has to
evidence,
be
but
it has to be somebody that knows them very well in their schedules. If it,
yeah,
right? Mm.
it's just again with the door as well. Like he
Hmm.
was always going in through the front door, and
Yeah.
then he happened to run into the neighbours at the back,
Hmm.
and
And
then the
how
door.
was it locked before? But then they're there, and it opened.
Yeah, he wasn't doing this before. Oh,
Yeah.
what a good bit of timing. So you can see me discover her dead,
Right.
and that's another alibi, isn't it?
Hmm.
Because if he goes in straight away and finds her dead for the
Right.
first time,
Hmm.
then who can see that? They'll say, "Well, no one saw you discover the body, Mr. Wallace. Who's to say that you didn't kill him?" So this wasn't a. This guy was smart.
Yep.
And I think he's planned almost not the perfect murder because he wouldn't have been taken to court and sentenced to death,
Right.
but he did get away with it if it
Hmm.
was him. Of course, we
Right.
can't say yes or no, but personally, I think based on what I've heard and what I've researched, which isn't that in depth, that I think he did it personally.
Yeah,
I don't see any other way.
I would agree.
Mm,
I
mm,
think so. Well, I appreciate you coming on my show. This has been fun.
you're welcome.
Why don't you tell my listeners where they can find your social media?
So you can find me. I'm on what am I on? Everything. Yeah, I'm on everything.
All of yours are the same, nice and easy. British murders,
They
right?
are, apart from Facebook though,
Okay.
because you can't put the word murder
Oh,
on a Facebook profile name.
I don't think I
I
knew
can.
that.
So the channel's called British Murders Podcast, but you know
Mm,
your actual handle on there,
okay,
like the @ sign.
right.
That is British Podcast.
No.
So if anyone wants like a royal, appreciation podcast, and then they come on mine, it's about people like eating people's brains and stuff.
Yeah.
They might get a shock. But yeah, it's just at British Murders on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, British Murders Podcast, TikTok. I don't really do the TikTok on that one because I'm busy with my other one.
I know. Tell them what that is, Stu.
Oh, I'm famous on TikTok now.
Yeah.
I've got like 18,000 followers now.
Oh my gosh, that's almost like doubled in like
I know.
a week.
It's crazy. So basically, what I do, if anyone doesn't know, because this is a secret though, you can't give up my little ruse, is I go on there and I put on an American accent, so everyone thinks I'm American, and basically I do like side hustle money making tips, but I test out other people's like side hustles and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just kicking off. It's really weird. I don't know what to do. I
No,
don't know how
and
to
it's
handle it.
nice. No, that's awesome that it's doing so well.
Yeah, but that one's at Make Money with Stu. If anyone wants to follow,
Yeah.
not that I need the followers because
On
I've got
TikTok.
enough
Yes.
on TikTok. Yeah, on TikTok.
Right.
The other one's just British Murders Podcast or something, but I haven't been on that for a while. But yeah, it's on Spotify, Apple, all the good stuff. I'll send you a link anyway. You can just whack it on that.
Sounds good. And then, as usual, I am on Twitter at Killer Stories PC, Instagram and TikTok at Killer Stories Podcast. And you can email any story suggestions to killerstoriespodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. And as always, this has been a killer story.